All right, today let's talk about the position of some people on the very far right who think that women should lose the right to vote and we should repeal the 19th Amendment. I've defined myself as very far right, very conservative, definitely Christian, evangelical, pro-life, all those great views, and yet I deeply disagree with the perspective that we should repeal the 19th and take away the voice of women. I'm going to go ahead and play you a video from Joel Webbon, who is a pastor, and he's one of the big advocates for repealing the 19th. Let's turn him
The
on.
reason why I have grown to despise democracy is because it's not we the people. It's we the some people.
Issue number one, despise democracy? I mean, does he want to live in China or Iran? Also, we are a democratic republic, saying it's the some. Wait, this is the guy who literally thinks women shouldn't be able to vote. Only the some voting is literally your position, sir.
And who are those people? Non-elected officials.
Yep.
Okay, has he checked on today's politicians? If he wants those people deciding absolutely everything for us, count me out.
Like what democracy, what it gives, lends its strength to is instead of having elected officials that have power, is a raw universal, because that's what we have is a universal democracy. Everyone is allowed to vote.
Right.
Everyone.
Sorry, I've got to stop it here. He literally doesn't understand the American system of government, which is understandable. There's a lot of talk about what America's form of government really is, but we are not a universal democracy. We are a democratic republic. The people elect representatives who pass or change or repeal most of our laws. But in some scenarios, specifically in particular states, the citizens are allowed to bring ballot initiatives to vote directly on laws that their legislature and the people in charge of their state don't want to pass. The people can, in fact, choose to make some laws, but in general, in America, we elect representatiures to represent us and make the majority of our laws.
And just for the record, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian, and that is the Christian position. Oh my gosh, that you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another. So it's not just elevating a male vote, but it's elevating the household vote. We're saying that that society, if you...
Okay, let's talk about Christianity and the 19th Amendment and so-called household voting. That's what he's getting into here, and definitely advocating for God seeing people as part of a household rather than as individuals. Let's listen to a little bit more.
break it down to the basic building block is not atomistic as individuals, but molecular, being households. The way that God sees humanity is he breaks them down to families. And so that it's not just random individual atoms all bouncing around together and 300.
Okay, to say that God sees people as families and not as individuals is actually quite troubling. Jesus was the biggest advocate for seeing every single person as a unique individual. Random atoms bouncing around on land, not really sure where he's going with that, but it's fairly disrespectful to the image of God we each were created in. It's a very troubling and damaging viewpoint, especially from someone who claims to be a pastor, that your value lies in the fact that you're part of a household, part of a family. Of course, we know that God welcomes us into the family of believers. We all have a need for a family to belong. But that's not where our identity lies in, is being part of a family. Our identity lies in the fact that we are a unique, created child of God as an individual. Christianity is the religion in the world that actually sees people as unique, special, valuable, because we are individuals, valuable in and of ourselves, because we were created in the image of God, and we do not need another person to validate that value.
150 million atoms bouncing together in one nation on one piece of land, but it's families. And so by repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family vote. Right. There's a household. And it's like, well, where do women get their voice? Where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother, it's from their uncle, it's the men in their lives that love them.
The idea that my liberal brother, and yes, I do have one, would cast a vote that represents me if one day I lose my father and my husband is simply preposterous. As a Christian woman, I do welcome the spiritual and family leadership that my husband provides, but along with him, I wholeheartedly reject the idea that men in general have any sort of authority over women as a whole, specifically based solely on our gender. As a unique individual created in the image of God, I vote according to my own conscience. And it's not according to the conscience of a man who I happen to be related to. It's simply not the Christian view that values the individual. And thankfully for Joel Webbon, who thinks that all women should be under the guidance of all men, and specifically under the leadership of my husband or my father, they both wholeheartedly agree with me. And so even he would have to concede that under the system he believes in, where a husband or father are set up as the leader over a woman, while listening to my husband and my father, leads me to not support the repeal of the 19th Amendment and actively fight for my right to vote as a woman.